What do you think is difficult to understand about happiness and well-being?
We can observe people's behaviors, we can observe people's, they can report a certain level of well-being, but we can't observe what's inside.
Right.
You are trying to disentangle the innate part of happiness, people's innate character traits, and how those lead to certain levels of resilience or not, or whatever it might be, with people's situations, right? And there's a lot of interesting research, but there's a lot of unknown. Having purpose or meaning is a huge part of well-being and happiness, and I think that's actually intuitive when you think about it. People that are able to think beyond their own material situation, and whether it's to be creative or to learn, or whether it's to give back or be altruistic, have higher levels of happiness than others.
Could you describe one major difficulty facing research in happiness and well-being?
Well, there are many difficulties, but certainly the problem is to find a use for this data that is relevant for, in particular, for the evaluation of social states or the design of public policy. Because if you want to use this data just raw as they come from the surveys directly, the risk is that they will have too much noise, and in particular that they will be hard to compare across people. So we may have different people from different cultural background or different social groups may have different expectations in life, for instance. You have to be careful about using this data and not just use them as if they gave you immediately a correct or the true assessment of each individual's well-being.
What do you see as the biggest obstacle to understanding happiness and well-being?
All of us have the problem that we can only look where the light is good. There's a story about a fellow who comes home and he sees his next door neighbor after dark, and he's looking around underneath the street light. And the neighbor walks over and he says, "Have you lost something?" He says, "Yes, I've lost my keys." He says, "Did you lose them under the street light?" He says, "No, I lost them back there." And he says, "Well, why are you looking here?" And the neighbor says, "Because this is where the light is good." We're all having to look where the light is good, and so often there can be things that are worth finding where the light is good. But it's important to know in each discipline, for instance, when they talk about happiness, the reason why they focus on the things that they do is because those might be the things that are easiest for them, if it's a social science, to say attach a number to and to quantify, so that you can measure it and then you can correlate it with other things. Come up with graphs and draw regressions. That can make for a couple of difficulties. One is it can be very difficult then to have talk about happiness across disciplines, where people are looking at very different things because they are working with very different kinds of tools and have very different concerns.